But again, German technology. Very effective.
So you can see that there's some artillery that hits some of these positions to soften things up, but they're not quite sure what they're up against quite yet. There's some American infantry moving up in the right flank. These guys are kind of screening to probe and see where the enemy positions are. When the guns fire, they expose their positions, so before these guys could see through the foliage of that, they could fire pretty freely if they knew where they were firing on targets. But as soon as they have visuals on it, it's pretty easy to see when you have a large gun or a rocket launcher firing because of the smoke trails. That was the IG-18 firing a 75mm round. And that's exactly what it's designed for, is close support, to fire up a direct fire onto the enemy. So these guys are starting to take hits and they're starting to go to ground because now they're pinned down. You want to try to catch your enemy out in the open if you can, because it's a lot easier to hit targets. Some of these positions are starting to soften them up, so the Americans can advance. They're taking some fire. The Germans are firing most of the fire either from 98 Gewehr, which is a bolt-action rifle, standard issue rifle used by the Germans. They also had MC-34 and 42 light machine guns. When you hear them, they fire and they rip off a belt. It's almost like a non-stop firing buzz noise, and the very high rate of fire was to be able to hit targets while they're moving out in the open. Most of the time, the target's only presented for maybe 2 to 3 seconds, so you can be pretty quick and send a lot of rounds out of range. So these are paratroopers. So the Germans are looking to counterattack, so these engineers are starting to move forward to try to counterattack the American positions. What the basic premise of a counterattack is that you want to move forward and try to knock the enemy off balance while they're trying to advance. Because the last thing they usually expect while they're advancing is to be pushed back by another advance on the other side. They also are usually they're in somewhat exposed positions, so it's a lot easier to dislodge an enemy when they're out in the open or they're in unprepared positions. They're being covered by the support of the 8-wheel armored car, and then the gun would be able to tear through all the entrenchments on the other side and take out those vehicles and the populace that might be there. You can see the 251 half-track that's moving out. It's heavily camouflaged and protected from Allied air cover, and also troops that's been using forward spins. Both of those are carrying troops to the front line. The 251 half-track was a standard troop carrier that was armor plated, used in Panzer Grenadier divisions, and it is armed with an MG34 and MG42 machine gun with a gun shield in front. So they were able to lay down covering fire, use it as a mobile bunker, while they were able to move the troops up into the field. You'll also notice that they use the armor as a way of covering the infantry in the back. They'll actually use it as a mobile bunker as they're moving. And armor is not something that the paratroopers were prepared for. So you can see these guys starting to back up and pull back from the field because they don't have any anti-tank weapons that are large enough to take out the armored car or to deal with the half-track that's moving up. And generally, if you were in a situation like this, they would definitely be in a bad situation, the Americans. You can also see that there's a lot more enemy infantry in position than they were realizing, and clearly they came out with reinforcements. There's something about the size of a platoon or two platoons worth of troops out in the field right now. The Germans, in a lot of cases, would actually set up their defenses so they would have somewhat lightly defended areas towards the end of the war when they didn't have enough manpower. And what they would do is they would have reserves that were just behind the front. As a hole was punched and they had enemy contact when they were probing and trying to push through the lines, they would actually push forward the reserves to plug those holes and push them back in counterattacks, which is what you just saw here. So you can see the Americans are now picked up and marched off as prisoners of war. And they would be searched for things like maps. They would be searched for anything that could be intelligence. You'd want to know what the unit is that you're facing. You want to know what their strength is, what types of weapons, what the support units are, like tank battalions and anti-aircraft units and things like that are. They would be interrogated before they'd be shipped back to a POW camp if they made it that far. You can see in the center of the field, there's a guy with a big long tube, and that's a Panzerschreck anti-tank weapon. I was talking about the Raketenwerfer 43, which is the little cannon-looking thing that fired rockets. They ended up developing the Panzerschreck as its replacement, and there's many, many more of those made because it was a lot easier to conceal, to carry, and for the infantry to have immediate support rather than having a towed anti-tank weapon.